MLS Monday from Scars and Spikes. So we look back at the great weekend of MLS action, Labor Day weekend. Hopefully, you all had a great Labor Day time off. If you did have the day off, hope you had a great time. And back to work tomorrow. Sydney and Henry with you as we look back at again a big weekend MLS as well as the Leagues Cup final. We'll talk about little about that later on. First off, Henry, how's it going?
It's great, man. Yeah, had a nice Labor Day weekend, uh, and we had some really fun soccer, especially last night with the Leagues Cup final,
Yeah.
which we're gonna break down in just a minute. But yeah, just an overall great weekend.
Excellent. Not a great start to the show because gotta give you kind of the inside scoop here. So obviously, if you're listening to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart, this has no bearing on you. But we're live every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. If this is your first time watching or listening, and me, forgot to hit the go live button, so we were talking for like a minute and a half before I noticed that I hadn't hit the go live button. That is very important, as
At
you might
least
imagine, for a
at
live
least we
stream.
caught it early, right? Because it would have been
Exactly.
pretty bad if we'd gone like 20 minutes and then realized, oh crap, we're
Yes.
not live.
Yeah. So if you're watching on YouTube, if you're wondering why they're 2 minutes late, that's why. Totally my fault. I will raise my hand and admit that. See, we're not afraid to admit our shortcomings here, Henry, here on MLS Monday, here on Scarves and Spikes, right?
Right. I mean, we know when we've been defeated, and we're not going to
Right.
go and start trying to brawl other people or spit on anyone. That would be a very
Right.
bad example
I know.
for
I
folks,
know. Or bite people.
or
Or bite
bite people.
people.
That also isn't very nice. We don't bite here most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Except we're in a really bad mood. Why do you mention that, Henry? Why are you talking about that? I don't know what you mean. Fighting
Well,
people, spitting on people. I mean, you couldn't be talking about Inter Miami after the Leagues Cup final after losing 3-0, are you? You
well,
couldn't be
I
talking
mean,
about that.
if you were watching Sports Center last night, that's probably what you got from the League's Cup final, is that it was
Right.
literally just a brawl and stuff, and that's the thing that went viral the most about that
Yeah.
game, and it's, you know, we talked to Jake Ziven, about this, friend of the show, and we'll hear a little bit more from him earlier, but it's just unfortunate because it was a really good
Or
game.
later.
Yeah, it was a really good game, and, you had a lot of players shine there. It was a huge moment for the Sounders, and it kinda gets eclipsed by this, uh, chaotic thing that shouldn't happen, right?
Yeah.
These scenes that we shouldn't be seeing, in our soccer here in the US or in any part of the world, really, but especially here in MLS, right? This isn't what we should be, right?
Right.
This is soccer, it's a beautiful game. All your fight, leave it on the field,
Yeah.
but as soon as the final whistle blows, winner, congratulations. Loser, I mean, that's
Yeah.
just the game, isn't it? And you gotta accept that. And there's no room for people to be pushing around and getting physical. And this is not the example that we want to show the youth of what soccer is, right? We don't want to
Right.
show people that this is our culture. It's not, right? We are graceful in defeat should be the operative phrase for everyone, and
Yeah.
sportsmanship above all. So yeah, for those scenes to take place and kind of become the defining moment that went viral on social media about the League Cup final, it's not a great look, and it should not happen anywhere at any
Yeah.
point.
Unfortunately, I mean, Suarez's reputation kind of precedes him, and this is not the first time he's kind of pulled a stunt like this. It is shameful. It really is. It's a tremendous occasion up there at Lumen Field. We'll talk to Jake. We'll have the interview with Jake a little bit later about the atmosphere, just the amazing atmosphere up there at Lumen Field. Record-breaking crowd for a soccer match up there in Seattle. Watching the scenes on social media, MLS Season Pass, they're incredible. But the fact that and obviously hats off to Seattle. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the fact, Henry, that we're having to talk about this, just the foolishness of the idiocy of the Inter Miami players, like Busquets swinging at a player, and I think it was Messi Falcon had his hands to the throat of a reserve player, a bench player for the Sounders. Suarez spitting at a security guard or something like that. And then the fight outside of Lumen Field on the streets of Seattle, just shameful. It's terrible. And an occasion like this shouldn't be followed by fans acting like fools and players acting like fools after the match. Like you said, lose with class, win with dignity. But when you inevitably lose, do so with class. Hold your head up high and say, hey, you beat us today. Congratulations to you. Hats off to you. But don't be a jerk. Don't be an idiot. Don't grab players by the throat. Don't punch at players. Don't spit on people. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting. And I hope that Suarez gets multiple match ban. A multiple match ban. Of course, we don't know. We're trying to figure out, and just looking at what the jurisdiction would be. Would that be CONCACAF? Would that be MLS? Who would that be? Is it Leagues Cup in and of itself as an organization? I hope that they put the hammer down on Suarez and show that this is not acceptable. This is wrong. This is bad for the game, and they need to send a message. I hope they send a message, but it's just shameful. And again, it takes away from what a great atmosphere, what a great match that the Sounders played. A 3-0 win, of course, over Inter Miami. And we would rather not talk about it, but I mean, we have to, talk about it. And like you said, the coverage was kind of dominated by that, like ESPN.com. I was looking at right after the match headline: Suarez appears to spit on security or a member of Sounders staff. Nothing about the Sounders winning or anything like that. The headline just about Suarez, and just goes to show where the headlines kind of go, in situations like that. It's sad, disappointing.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk too much more about that because it doesn't
Yeah.
deserve to be talked about that much. We shouldn't really draw attention to it. But I will say that, I did hear, Alonso Elinka tweeting that there are between 5 and 8 suspensions that are probably
Mhm.
going to be handed out. There were 5 to 8 red cards, is what I understand, but that it would all stay within Leagues Cup. So those suspensions would take effect in Leagues Cup 2026, which, I mean, I look at that and I think, well, this team could probably change a lot come Leagues Cup 2026, right? Maybe a lot of those players aren't even here for that.
Yeah.
So that kind of seems worthless. It kind of seems like they're getting away with it. And so it
Yeah.
feels bad. I feel like any suspension, if it were to take place, it should take place in MLS because that is the most immediate competition. It is, it is an official competition. And so it should carry on to that so that it actually means something. But yeah,
Right.
it's just a bad thing that happens, and it's not an example for anyone to follow at all. But yeah, I want to leave that there, and I want to talk about what a great game the Seattle Sounders
Yeah.
played to win the to complete their collection. It's that they've become the first team to in MLS to win every title available to them. Uh, that is currently active. We're not including MLS is back, which that's a joke that Jake made.
Yeah.
Um, but
I hope
yeah,
we never get in a situation where you need another
yeah,
MLS is
hopefully
back
not.
tournament, by the way.
That would mean something's gone horribly wrong. But
Right.
MLS Cup, Supporters Shield, Open Cup, CONCACAF
Yeah.
Champions Cup, the only MLS team to do so, and Leagues Cup now. So this is a huge moment for the Sounders as a franchise, which, by the way, for the past decade now, they have been, at least from my view, the most dominant, the most
Mhm.
successful MLS club over the past decade. And that is a
Yeah.
huge credit to the organization, to the majority owner Adrian Hanauer, to longtime, now longest tenured active head coach Brian Schmetzer,
Mhm.
and the entirety of the other organization for being able to build not just a winning team, but a dynasty within MLS. That takes a lot of hard work. That takes a lot of just knowing how to operate the roster rules, because that's an extra added challenge when you're talking about building an MLS team.
Big
And
challenge.
yeah, and just their development pathway, which that is something that Jake spotlighted. And I don't want to keep spoiling too much about this interview with
Right.
Jake, but there's a lot of good stuff there, and so it's a huge moment for the Sounders that they absolutely deserve.
Yeah, and just to hit on, and don't want to give away again too much of the interview with Jake. Is a great interview, and we're going to play it here in just a little bit. But you have to start thinking about, where does Brian Smetzer live in the pantheon of MLS coaches? One of the greatest coaches of all time in MLS, with respect to Bob Bradley, with respect to Bruce Arena, with respect to Peter Vermees, Ziggy Smith, the late Ziggy Smith, who he replaced in Seattle. He's got to be one of the all-time greatest, and we'll talk about that with Jake in just a little bit. But you look at the players that scored, right, Henry? Osaze de Rosario, his father, Dwayne de Rosario, former Canadian international, longtime MLS player as well, scoring on the night, scoring the opener for Seattle. Former Tacoma Defiance player, Alex Roldan, pretty much on the periphery of Seattle's roster a few years back, scores the penalty. And, the person who drew the penalty, there's a great story behind him that we'll hear about in just a little bit. And then Paul Rothrock, and with all the buildup and all the conversation about Rothrock that Smetzer brought up before the match, and the jersey exchange before the match, bring your Messi jersey, the first 100 people to do so get a Paul Rothrock jersey. I mean, it just had to be him who scored that third goal, right? And you could just hear the crowd just erupt, and just how he celebrated the moment, how his teammates celebrated the moment with him is just incredible. And, what happened after the match with Miami, Suarez and all that shouldn't take away from an incredible night for the Sounders. Again, having won every competition available to them outside of Club World Cup. That's a whole other conversation there. But yeah, establishing yourself, like you said, as a dynasty in Major League Soccer, as a dynasty really in American sports, and really cementing Brian Smetzer again as one of the greatest coaches in MLS history, and really in professional team sports in North America. And that's not overstating it, I don't think. I'm sure anyone will agree that he is one of the all-time greats, and another trophy. Yeah, absolutely.
When you are the only coach to win CONCACAF Champions Cup up until now, and you've done what he has done in the time frame that he has done
too.
Exactly. Like that is serious coaching material. And not just that, but we're talking about a man who's been a part of the Sounders organization for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
Like he was part of the Sounders when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
And he's been involved for a long time. And so, I mean, this is a guy who, lives and breathes Seattle Sounders Rave Green, and just an absolute legend. And by the way,
yes,
they have Messi, but we have Paul Rothrock is the coldest quote ever to be muttered by an MLS coach. And that needs to go when they build the Brian Smetzer statue outside of Lumen Field. That is what will go on the plaque, is that quote.
That's incredible. And yeah, can't overstate what he has done for that organization since he was elevated to head coach in 2016 after they parted ways with Ziggy Schmidt. We don't have Paul Rothrock, Henry, but we did have, I should say, we do have Jake Ziven. We had a chance to talk to him earlier. It's a great interview. Of course, called the match with Taylor Twellman and Taylor Twellman and Jillian Sakovic. I don't know why I forgot her name. Jillian Sakovic was on the sideline.
How could you forget Jillian, man?
I know. Friend of the show, Jillian Sakovic. And friend of the show, Taylor Twellman as well. But Jake Ziven was calling the match, of course, from Lumen Field up in Seattle. And we had a chance to talk to him about the atmosphere, talking to him about where Smetzer belongs in that pantheon of coaches, and really talking about the match as a whole. And also toward the end, talk to him about MLS, Supporter Shield race, and how he sees that taking shape. So without further ado, Jake Ziven talks with myself and Henry. Let's talk about the Leagues Cup final. Of course, the Seattle Sounders beating Inter Miami 3-0 at Lumen Field on Sunday night. And Jake Ziven, good friend of the show, was calling the match with Taylor Twellman at Lumen Field, and he joins us now. Jake, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be. I'm happy to be mistaken for the great Taylor Twellman anytime.
Well, apologize for that, but hey, I mean, mistakes happen, right?
Y'all are just such a dynamic duo
Yeah.
that it's
There you go.
easy to get
Hey,
it
I
mixed
love
up.
it. I love it,
Exactly.
man. Absolutely. Taylor's my guy. That's great. I'm
Oh.
serious. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you were there with them, obviously at
Yes.
Lemon Field, and I think
Yeah.
Jill was there too, Jillian Stakovitz
Yeah.
calling the
Yeah.
match.
Yep.
And Sounders get it done, adding another trophy to their cabinet. First team of MLS history to win every single trophy available to them. Just take us through the atmosphere at Lumen Field. I was looking at it, and I'm sure Henry saw the tweets, saw the video, MLS season pass of the atmosphere. You were there. Just tell us how it was experiencing it in person.
It was great. It was great. And we were talking on Wednesday. We were in Miami. We had just finished up the Miami-Orlando game, and we were talking about what it would be like if the Galaxy win, what it would be like if the Sounders win that semifinal. The Galaxy, they could probably fill up 25,000 on 3 days' notice and with celebrities and everything, and that'd be great. Can Seattle fill it up, or get to the point where they can even open the upper bowl on 3 days' notice? What would they be able to do from a ticket sales standpoint? And to sell it out, the biggest crowd in the history of Lumen Field. They broke the record of MLS Cup 2019. Remarkable. And there was an incredible buzz from the moment I got into the city on Saturday, going to the stadium. There's people everywhere. And then once you get in there, I mean, it felt like a real important event, an important occasion. And it was a final, it was a proper atmosphere, as you would say. And the game delivered. I thought it was highly entertaining, a wonderful matchup. And as you said, the Sounders just keep doing it. I have had some Timbers folks texting me and in my mentions to remind, which as somebody who was calling these games, the Sounders have not won the MLS is Back tournament, which the Portland Timbers did win, and so they have not, I guess, won every trophy available to them. Also, the Superliga was around in 2009 and 2010. So the Sounders are missing the Superliga and the MLS is Back trophy. But no, of the trophies currently available to them for North American teams to win in North America, there's also the Club World Cup, right? Which, I mean, we're not gonna worry about that. Maybe one day, but not yet. For an MLS team, yes, for the trophies currently available to an MLS team, they're the first to win all of them, which is a remarkable accomplishment.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, obviously you've called the Timber matches before MLS Season Pass came along. I was going to ask you, when you go to the Lemon Field, do you get like Timbers fans bantering you or anything like that, or do they treat you right?
Look, I first of all, I love it up there, and I have so much respect for Brian Schmetzer and the Sounders organization, and look, I've probably called. Obviously, the most games I've called are the Portland Timbers. Most games of a single team, but the Sounders must be second. All the Timber Sounders games over the years, we used to do a joint preseason stream because they'd always play each other on like February 1st in Tucson, and they'd get a couple thousand people to these games. This kind of basically high school football, it's not a high school football stadium, like bleachers in that Keno Sports Complex in Tucson that have all the MLS teams. It'd be the one game down there that would really fill up these bleachers. I would be like me and Steve Zakowani doing this joint broadcast. And man, I loved those games and loved those broadcasts. And now, on MLS Season Pass and even ESPN and Fox in the kind of 5 or 6 years leading up to Apple and MLS Season Pass, I called several Sounders games on national TV. So, I know them well, and I've called a lot of their games. And I don't know. I don't hear it a ton from Sounders fans. Maybe they don't know, which is fine. But look, when we're I take my job, of course, very seriously as a neutral and objective commentator and broadcaster. And, while I have a lot of love for the Portland Timbers organization and the people there that are my close friends and still do a little work with them, when it comes to calling games, it's straight down the middle, 100%. And man, I've called a lot of great games at Lumen Field, and I find it a privilege. I mean, I remember there was a weekend in 2022 when I called a game on Saturday night for the Timbers local show in Providence Park and Sunday afternoon at Lumen Field for ESPN.
Wow.
And I was just like, man, how lucky am I, right, to call games on back-to-back days in these incredible American soccer environments, where me growing up in Chicago, going to Soldier Field as a Fire fan, wanting it to work, wanting it to be relevant, And now it is in these two major cities and in these two incredible venues, and to be able to call games back, I was just like, I'm so lucky. And so, yeah, that's how I feel about Seattle and Lumen Field. And it was as good as it's ever been up there yesterday. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and Lumen Field, huge for the Sounders in terms of finals. 5 finals that they've played there, 5 finals that they've won.
Yep.
This most recent one, I mean,
and also won like in the 90, I think, right? Maybe one of the Open Cups went to extra time, but I mean, they haven't even gone to penalties in any of these. I mean, it's 5-0.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this most recent one, let's kind of talk through it a little bit. How did Seattle get this done, right? You got an opening goal from Asazi de Rosario. You have, for most of the game, it's like back and forth. Miami has its chances. Messi incredibly misses that one chance. Man, it's Messi. How does Messi miss that? You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
And then the Sounders just put it away at the end of the game. Just walk us through how they got it done.
Yeah, it's so impressive. I mean, and I think we talked about it a lot on the broadcast, and we set up the game this way. This was a matchup of two teams that built their success at this point in different ways. You have Miami that are doing it with the global superstars, and they are breaking ground, and they are bringing in these incredible players and spending a lot of money to do so. They're showing a ton of ambition to do so. You have the Sounders, who over the past 3 or 4 years have gone deep into the developmental pipeline and all into every stage of the pro pathway, from academy to MLS Next Pro and Tacoma Defiance, and then onto the first team. And they showed off their depth in this tournament in a remarkable way. I mean, there's 8 guys who did not play last night because of injury or suspension that are starters for them. Jordan Morris, Paul Arriola, who has been out, Ryan Kent, Albert Rusnak, Stefan Fry, João Paulo, Nuhu, Danny Musovski. Now Steph is back, and Brian Schmetzer gave this tournament to Andrew Thomas, but that is a showing of strength in your depth. And he was the goalkeeper of the tournament, Andrew Thomas. Albert Rusnak was back on the bench only to take a penalty if it were to get to penalties. He's not ready to play yet. He's a couple of weeks away. Those 8 guys could all start. João Paulo's a little past it. You're either going to start one of Jordan Morris or Danny Musovski. You're not going to start both of them. Likely, you could put Jordan on the wing, but the way it's been this year, Jordan is the 9, Danny's the number 2 9, right? Rosario's the 3rd string. De Rosario's a 3rd string number 9. So 8 guys, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter who gets called upon, whether it's Reed Baker Whiting, a 20-year-old filling in at left back for Nuhu, whether it's Osase de Rosario, who 2 months ago would have looked at this weekend on the calendar and had been planning to be in Utah, playing the Real Monarchs as a member of leading the line for the Tacoma Defiance. Yeah. And instead, because Morris is injured and Musovski bumps the referee in the quarterfinal and gets suspended an extra game, he's starting and he is scoring the biggest goal of his life against these global superstars who have won everything. It's remarkable. And then who earns the penalty? Georgie Manungu, a guy who they pulled out of not obscurity, but a lower league in Europe. And they brought him into camp, I think, in 2023. And they were going to sign him to the first team because he's a really good player. But then he developed an eye infection in their preseason trip that ended in him completely losing vision in one eye. It was so serious. And because of that, not because he lost the vision in the eye, but because of basically losing the preseason and having to go through the medical procedures, he was signed to Tacoma Defiance instead. But now playing legally blind in one eye, he figures out how to do it and earns the spot onto the first team, comes off the bench, earns a penalty, again, against these global superstars that have done everything. It's Alex Roldan that takes the penalty, a guy who 4 years ago was going to get cut. He was a central midfielder, and he was going to get cut maybe 6 years ago, 5, whatever it was. Yeah. And they moved him to right back and signed him and said, we'll give him one chance. We'll sign him and put him at right back. And now he's an all-star and one of the best right backs in the league. And then the capper is Paul Rothrock, who, is just Brian Schmetzer is just a genius and a wizard and obviously can see the future, because 2 days ago he says they've got Messi, but we've got Paul Rothrock. Yeah. And it comes across a little tongue in cheek, but it's not. Like, he believes that. He believes in these guys. and he believes in every member of the organization. And because of that, and because of what he instills in them from the moment they get there as academy kids, they're ready for these moments. And Paul Rothrock scores the goal, and you have the jersey exchange. I mean, everybody the 100 people, because there were only 100 available, those 100 people that exchanged the Messi jersey for a Paul Rothrock jersey before the game. I mean, and now he scores the it's incredible. They're gonna frame that jersey, that Paul Rothrock jersey. It's just it's an incredible story. It's remarkable what Seattle did, and they deserve to be praised and lauded and respected, because it is one of, to me, the biggest accomplishments of an MLS team, just in how they've done this and how they built it, and the depth throughout the organization. It's honestly what every team should aspire to be.
No, for sure. And I was going to ask you next about that Rothrock goal. I mean, had to be him, right? Based on what Smetsa was talking about a couple of days before the match, like you just mentioned, the jersey giveaway before the match. From a personal standpoint, calling it, I was listening back to your call of the goal, just calling that in that moment. What are you thinking as a broadcaster?
Yeah, number one, when there's 70,000 people in the stadium going nuts for these moments, personally, my philosophy is punch it, meet the moment, but let the sound of the stadium and the pictures of the stadium come through, because that's where the goosebumps come from, man. I mean, and so I try to hit it initially, and it was kind of a broken play where it wasn't in rhythm. Alex Roldan was trying to play it to whoever was making that run in front of Rothrock, and it went behind him, and kind of Miami didn't really react, and Rothrock runs onto it and scores. So it wasn't really in rhythm, which is fine. Hit it, lay out for a little bit, let some stuff come through. We saw Eddie Vedder, I think, at some point, right? And then just punch it, right? I mean, I don't plan out goal calls. I love the nickname Paulie Primetime that the Sounders fans have kind of bestowed on him for a long time, and he just has that look, doesn't he? And so I went there. I don't like calling game over in soccer before the final whistle, but at 3-0 in the 90th minute, it is game over. So, I didn't, on the Roldan goal at 2-0, 86, I didn't say they've won Leagues Cup. I said they're minutes away or whatever it was. But with this one, hey, the Sounders are gonna win Leagues Cup. Punch that, lay out some more. I think I did come back in because then we showed Eddie Vedder, and I don't know, I probably made a bad Pearl Jam reference, and then lay out a little bit more, and then let Taylor take over. So yeah, you just want to meet the moment, and also when the atmosphere is as good as it is, not you're never going to overtake that atmosphere, but realize that the old VP of broadcasting at the Portland Timbers used to say, the game in front of you is the steak. Don't put ketchup on the steak. You just need a little salt and pepper, right? Just sprinkle it, just punctuate it, accentuate it, but don't overwhelm it. You don't need to. And not every game is a steak, right? And not every atmosphere is a steak or a quality steak. But man, last night was so yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, and you got to say, like, almost 70,000 fans. That's a pretty darn good steak, isn't it?
Filet mignon right there.
I'm not a steak guy, so I can't give like the right Wagyu. That's probably the best stuff.
Yeah.
Mignon, exactly. Yeah. No, it was that was as good of an atmosphere as I've ever been in. Just wonderful to be a little part of it.
And the game, fantastic. It's awesome to see, the Sounders of players like celebrating this moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, unfortunately, afterwards you have this incident on the field, right? You have these not great scenes, man. It's just, players are pushing around. You see kind of a little bit of a scrap going on the field. You see Luis Suarez spitting at a member of the Sounders staff. It's, we got a little bit of you and Taylor kind of talking about some of the stuff as it was going down, but tell me what was going through your mind and your perspective on this stuff.
I think, like you said, first and foremost, it's a shame that that's how this night ended, and for some people will be remembered, right? I mean, we were back at the hotel after the game, and in the hotel restaurant having a bite, and SportsCenter was on, and SportsCenter showed that and not any goals from the game, right? And that's media. I get it. That's what's going to get the headlines, right? I mean, if this were in England or Spain, the front page of the paper the next day would be that, right? And that's, I get it, right? But it's just a shame that, because this was a wonderful game and a great atmosphere, and it was interesting. And, look, I rattled off the names of all the young guys that stepped up, but it was also the way they shut down, the Sounders shut down Lionel Messi. I mean, they were all over him. Obed Vargas was amazing in the game, and obviously got under the skin of Inter Miami, but by playing well, not by playing dirty. And other than the couple moments for Miami, the Sounders were great. That's what the game should be remembered as. And it might be ultimately, I hope it is. And Sounders fans will remember it that way. But, the general public will remember Luis Suarez. It looked like, right, he spit on somebody, spit on a member of, I believe it was the head of security for Seattle is who that was. It's too bad. We didn't see what started it. It's going to get sorted through, obviously, right? And the discipline will come down from the various, the organizations that have jurisdiction over it. Whether that extends into MLS play or not, I don't know, right? I mean, obviously it's possible to be suspended across competitions in the sport of soccer. It's also possible to just be suspended within a competition, and for next year's. We'll see. But it's too bad. It's too bad. Overall, it's just too bad that's how the night, not how the night ended, but those were the scenes after the final whistle.
Yeah, and I mean, you just saying that, Sports Center kind of showed that and it didn't show the game. That's just unfortunate, because we just talked about all these fantastic players that have amazing stories, right? That performed in this game, and this was a huge moment for them, and this should be, celebrating them, and we shouldn't be. I don't really think that this game should be talked about in the light of the stuff that happened afterward. You know what I'm saying? Like, we should focus on the game and the soccer and the stories behind that. That's what needs to be elevated a lot more.
But look, I get it. For the average sports fan in the United States, seeing Lionel Messi's team getting into an altercation after losing is going to resonate more than seeing Paul Rothrock score a goal and Osase De Rosario score a goal, because they're not, those guys aren't going to be known, unfortunately, right? For me, I'm a diehard MLS fan, right? Like, for me, I would be if I'm watching SportsCenter as a fan at a young age, of course I know these guys and I want them, want to see them and want them to be talked about. But I understand SportsCenter's editorial instincts, right, to go with what they went with.
But Jake, the 100 plus people that swapped their Messi jersey for a Paul Rothrock jersey, like that's what they're going to remember. Right?
And we had, I think it was during the celebration, or maybe it was, I think it was when Rothrock was getting subbed out, because he scores the goal, he gets subbed out, he's got this $1 million smile on his face. I mean, just he's beaming, and he's a hometown kid, 70,000, like, what a moment. And then our director, Jim Dodonna, takes a shot of somebody with a Rothrock holding up a Rothrock jersey that still had tags on it. So we figured, like, maybe that guy or that person who had that was one of the 100, probably, right? Or just went and bought it on his own, a Paul Rothrock jersey before the game, which good for you if you did that. But that was a great shot and a cool moment. And then the game ended. That also caught. There was meant to be, behind the scenes a little bit in television. We'll get word from the fourth official of what stoppage time is going to be a minute or so before the board goes up. I never say it over the air because it changes, but producers will always get in our ear and say, we're told 5 minutes, which is what was the case last night. We're told 5 minutes. I'm not going to say that. Again, because it can change and whatever. Just wait for the board to go up, builds a little drama that way anyway. And then you don't say something wrong and have to backtrack on yourself. You don't assume that risk. So that's what we were expecting. And there was a penalty. There were 6 substitution windows, right? 2 goals in the second half. But the referee just decided to end it like 30 seconds into it. Right? So, all right. So then, oh man, there's the final whistle while we're, I think, showing this other stuff and trying to tell the story of the jersey exchange. Well, now we got to just transition to calling the final whistle. Yeah, but man, no, it's perfect. And what a story. What a story, man. Paul Rothrock, Paulie Primetime, and those Seattle kids. He grew up carpooling with Jackson Reagan to training. They both grew up in the Capitol Hill neighborhood, which is right next to downtown in Seattle, urban, dense part of Seattle. And neither of them were signed as homegrowns. Both of them went to college, and both, I think Jackson was drafted by Chicago and didn't sign, and signed with Tacoma Defiance because he wanted to give it a go in Seattle, but they didn't offer him a homegrown deal. And I don't know if maybe he wasn't eligible, but he was an academy guy. I'm sure he would. Sometimes it can be like he's in the academy, but something happens. He didn't keep up with summer training while in college, so he's not eligible, whatever. I don't know. But for whatever reason, he wasn't signed as a homegrown. He decided to go for it, signed with Tacoma Defiance. He's one of the best center backs in the league. Paul Rothrock didn't even, out of college, Tacoma Defiance, I don't know if they offered him or not, but he signed with Toronto FC 2. And he played for Toronto FC 2 in MLS Next Pro for a year or two before then coming back home and signing first with the Tacoma Defiance. And these two kids, who are not technically homegrowns on the roster, but are academy guys and are Sounders through and through. It's just a wonderful story, right? I mean, and their manager has been part of the team for 45 years. 45 years. He signed as a teenager out of high school with the Seattle Sounders. Yeah. Like in 1980, and now he's led them to winning every trophy they can win. He was an assistant for the Open Cups, but now as the head coach. I mean, it is a great story, and it's something again that every professional sports team around the world have to be envious of, because it's ultimately, right, professional sports at their best are about civic pride, right? And civic engagement. And this is the team that is representing your city or your region or whatever it is, your college, against others. And that's what it's about. And for this team to have the spine of its success built on people from that city and from that, it's just, that's what you want. And a bunch of Seattle guys just beat the best player in the world to win Leagues Cup.
Yeah, pretty amazing story. And you mentioned, of course, Brian Schmetzer. That guy is leading me to my next question. Two-time MLS Cup winner. Of course, 2016 came on for Ziggy Smith after he was let go. They, of course, won MLS Cup that year. 2019 won it. Runners up 2017, 2020 Champions Cup. We mentioned that earlier. Leagues Cup now. So 6 trophies won in the Schmetzer era at this time. Where does he rank among MLS coaches, do you think?
Number 2. Taylor and I were talking about this after the game. We were sitting there, and I would go, Taylor, I was thinking about it. I was on the Oregon coast this weekend, and I had a long drive to the airport on Saturday, the Portland airport, and then I flew up to Seattle. And I was thinking, I was like, he's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of coaches. Yeah. I think right now, if he wins this for sure, top 4, just, all that success, 10 years now. He's the longest tenured coach in the league now. And so I said that to Taylor after the game, and I'm like, I think he's definitely, like, I would say 3, like Bruce, Ziggy, and then maybe he's past Ziggy by now, right? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. But it's also a different time in MLS. But I think there's a real argument that he's number 2 behind only Bruce. I mean, Bob Bradley, of course, ton of success. Ziggy Smith, a ton of success, and the Coach of the Year award is named after him, and rightfully so. Caleb Porter has won MLS Cups in 2 different places, but he's also missed the playoffs a lot, right? But he has done that. Greg Vanny has won MLS Cup in 2 different places, but I just think Brian Schmetzer now winning CONCACAF Champions Cup, which is he's the only one to do it in this current format, right? Yep. The LA Galaxy and DC won it 25 years ago when it was played at 8 teams, an 8-team tournament played on one weekend or within 1 week in one site. Great accomplishment, but different tournament. He's now won Leagues Cup. It's just, and look, you've got guys like Wilfried Nancy, an incredible coach who has done great things and like changed maybe the perception of what an MLS team can be and how they look and how they play. But ultimately it's about winning. And Wilfred's won a lot, but it hasn't been as long. And if Wilfred stays for 10, 15 years, maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think there's a real argument. It's Bruce and then it's Brian.
Yeah. No, I was thinking too. I mean, the only time they've missed playoffs in this tenure is 2022.
Yes, and
only
they won the CONCACAF Champions League that year.
Exactly. That's a good point. And that's the only time they finish outside of the top 4 of the Western Conference. And then when you look at the roster, I mean, they're talented players, but no one. I want to be careful how I say this. So you can look at it and say this is a bona fide superstar MLS. Maybe Jordan Moore's is the closest.
No,
I think.
But you're right, and Taylor did a great job of talking about this on the broadcast. They have done it in different ways for the 17 years. They started out with like the early era. Were big ambitious signings. Clint Dempsey, Obafemi Martins. Those were huge signings, particularly at the time in MLS. They were household names around the world and in the US, and they had a lot of success. They didn't win an MLS Cup, but they won a Supporter Shield and they won US Open Cups. And then they transitioned to like the shrewd designated player signing that Ladero Ruidiaz cost money, but we're not household names, but we're incredible players, right? And the top 2, 3, maybe 1, depending on how you want to rank it, in their positions in the league for 5-6 years, led the Sounders to 2 MLS Cups. But now they've transitioned to kind of the homegrown, the pipeline, the MLS veterans, right? I mean, you're going for trading for Jesus Ferreira. You're putting a lot into Jordan Morris. You traded for Albert Rusnak, right? I mean, he was a designated player at Salt Lake, and then everyone was a trade. They signed him, I think, but they went and got Albert Rusnak from within the league. So they've changed the philosophy even then, and it continues each way. It works, and they evolve, and they still win. And so Brian Schmetzer, Craig Weibel deserves a lot of credit. Of course, Garth Lagerwey before Craig Weibel. And again, I think I said this earlier, they use the entire pro pathway as well as any team in Major League Soccer, and maybe, by far, I think they use MLS Next Pro. It's early in the MLS Next Pro thing, but by far better, by far the best of any team in MLS. Philly's got their academy, and that's great, but and they come through Philadelphia Union too before Bethlehem Steel, so that's part of it. But because it's not with the Sounders, it's not just academy, Tacoma Defiance, Seattle. There's guys like Osasa de Rosario, Georgie Manungu, who were not academy guys, but signed to Tacoma Defiance first, and then brought into the first team. Right. And so they just, man, they use it just so well in every way. And it's very impressive.
Yeah. Model club in MLS, I would think at this point in time, and a model for really all teams to follow in the league. Gotta let you go here in a little bit, but kind of switching back to league play. Obviously MLS is on an international break this coming week, and then things kick back up in 2 weeks, I should say. When you look at the standings and you look at the Supporter Shield race right now, Philadelphia at the top, San Diego right behind them, Cincy just losing to Philadelphia, so they're kind of questionable to win the Shield at this point. I mean, who do you see kind of standing out at the top of the mountain when it's all said and done?
Like you said, Philadelphia and San Diego threatening to make it a 2-team race. I mean, before this weekend, I thought and still think this is going to be the best Shield race ever, but maybe it won't, right? Maybe it's going to just be Philadelphia and San Diego, which would be great, but we've seen 2-team races before. I mean, it was looking like this was going to be a 6-team race, right? Like down to the final couple of weeks. It might, but that was a huge win for Philadelphia, a huge win for San Diego on the road. They've won 7 straight road games, I think. It's remarkable.
Wow.
And to do it in LAFC, at LAFC, to spoil Son Heung-min's debut, I keep thinking to myself, like, okay, they're for real, but can they really do it like with real pressure on, like in a playoff game or at LAFC and Son Heung-min's debut? Yeah. And the answer is always yes. It's always yes. So no reason to doubt San Diego the rest of the way. Philadelphia the same. There is still Inter Miami, who have 4 games in hand and are 11 points back. Well,
little chip on their shoulder too, right?
Sure. Yeah. Well, there's all exactly.
That rematch is coming soon too.
Don't poke the bear. That is the September 16th
at Chase
Seattle,
Stadium,
Miami. Yes, that's going to. We're calling that game. Cannot wait.
Wow.
It was a big game regardless, and we were really excited to go down there and do it before even the Leagues Cup final was set. And now, and then honestly, then when the Leagues Cup final was set, it takes a little bit off the regular season game, because the regular season game was going to be billed as these two big clubs in MLS, right? And everything we built last night as, right? These different and kind of styles and philosophies of how they built their success, but they're both successful. And so then it's okay. Well, now we're getting this 17 days earlier. That can maybe take away from this rematch. The same thing happened in 23. Leagues Cup final was Miami at Nashville. And then I think 6 days later, this is 17 days later, 6 days later, Nashville played at Miami in a game that was kind of a dud, right? Because it was just, there was this elation and this high of the Leagues Cup final. It was an okay game, but it just didn't have that. This will have that and everything after that, after what happened at the end of that game. Should be great, right? It's a little rivalry between Seattle and Miami. So yeah, but look, if they win, and games in hand they're easy to talk about, but you've got to win them for them to matter. But if anybody can win 4 games in hand, it's Miami. And if they do that, then they're atop the Supporters Shield, because they're 11 points back with 4 games in hand. That's 12 points if you win them all, and now you're on 58. But that's a long way to go for them to do that. And certainly that's not a guaranteed thing at all. But
I got some technical difficulties there. We apologize for that, but we'll try to get you the. That's pretty much the gist of it. We'll try to get you the entire interview posted to YouTube here shortly. But yeah, pretty much you see the gist of what Jake was talking about, especially with Seattle, the Supporters Shield race and where that's going. So definitely always appreciate Jake Zevin coming on, and appreciate his insights, and yeah, the opportunity to talk to him as always. Henry, scarsandspikes.com. It's where you can find all the latest Atlanta United news, analysis, and opinion. If it's your first time here, we are an Atlanta United podcast predominantly. We're live Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time with our MLS Monday show. Wednesday nights is our main podcast, 7 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube. We're live before every Atlanta United match. Henry has this Across the Pitch segment on YouTube as well, and we have our 3 takeaways after every United match on YouTube. So subscribe there, and share our content there. But go to scarsandspikes.com for all of our written content, as well as a link to our store where you can get hats, t-shirts, hoodies, drinking glasses, mugs, and all that good stuff that helps support our Atlanta United coverage and MLS coverage as a whole, as Henry is modeling it as we speak. Patreon.com/scarsandspikes. That gets you access to special audio and video content, as well as our Discord, Henry. We have a lot of great stuff going on in our Discord, and that's really enough, I think, to join Patreon, but we give you bonus content that you won't get anywhere else as well. So yeah, patreon.com/scarsandspikes. Of course, follow us on social media, Scarves the Letter and Spikes on X, scarvesandspikes.com on Blue Sky, Scarves and Spikes on Instagram, and Threads, of course, facebook.com/scarvesandspikes. So now that we are past Leagues Cup, past talking about that, and let's just throw this out there real quick, Henry. We have to talk about LA Galaxy quickly, beating Orlando City 2-1 in the 3rd place match of Leagues Cup. So Galaxy have qualified for the Champions Cup of 2026. And of course, both Seattle and Miami have qualified by virtue of their 1st and 2nd place finishes. But just quickly, how does this improve the outlook for the Galaxy in 2025? They have Campeones Cup October 1st against Toluca in a matter of weeks here. So just quickly, how does their outlook look for 2025? Even, with the playoffs being out of reach, but now with them having won that 3rd place match and clinching that Champions Cup place for 2026.
Well, I kind of, when it's raining outside and, you've parked your car outside and you realize that you've left the windows down, and so you rush back out to the parking lot to close, to
I'm gonna mute you. I'm sorry. Your audio is messed up, so we're gonna try to sort that. We apologize. Henry is a little garbled. I don't know if anyone else is hearing that, but I'm hearing it on my end. So we're gonna try to get that sorted out here. Can you talk again? I'm sorry. Can you talk again?
Does this sound any better?
Not really, unfortunately.
Okay, well that's great.
Yeah. So we're gonna keep on going here. Maybe Henry can definitely work on that. So, but again, Galaxy, of course, winning the third place match 2-1 over Orlando City, and again clinching the third place in the Champions Cup or Leagues Cup, I should say, and getting a bid to Champions Cup as a result. And again, apologize for the technical difficulties we're having here. So I think it might just be me, actually. Henry, I'm going to get you back in here. I think it must be me.
Okay, sound good?
I think it is. Yeah, you're fine.
All right, folks are saying I sound good. So I'm gonna continue with my analogy, but when you like go to the store or something and you like, it's like you leave your like you park your car and then you leave the windows down and you're in the store and then it starts raining and you realize, oh crap, I left the windows in my car down. And so you run back to the parking lot to like close them, but by that point your car's already all wet inside. That's kind of what this is, on a little bit of a weird comparison, but that's kind of what it is to me. Like this season has it's gone down the toilet for LA Galaxy, and I think the only way that you could somewhat rescue it was by actually winning Leagues Cup, because then you get a trophy that you can celebrate with your fans. But nobody really remembers who finished third place in the tournament, in any tournament, really. I mean, who finished third place in the last World Cup? I genuinely can't remember. That's the thing. No one remembers the third place.
Right.
And so ultimately that doesn't go into your trophy cabinet. You got your CONCACAF Champions Cup ticket for next season. Awesome. Great. That's going to give y'all another competition to go into once this season ends and you have Ricky Puig back and maybe you strengthen the roster a little bit. But yeah, I think it barely, if anything, really improves the outlook of the season. You win Campeones Cup, maybe the fans will be like, okay, cool. 2025 happened, but would not recommend.
Yeah. It was Croatia, by the way, who won third place in the World
Was
Cup.
it? Third place in 2022 and
Morocco.
Second place in 2018? That's cruel.
Yeah. I know, right? I know. What do they say? Second place is first loser. What do they say about third place? Like, no one remembers.
Second loser?
Yeah. I know. Third place, but not first place. But yeah, there you go. But yeah, Galaxy in the Champions Cup by virtue of their place finish in Leagues Cup. Quickly, MLS headlines. So San Diego, Jake talked about it a little bit earlier. San Diego still, Henry, right in the Shield race. 2-1 win over LAFC. Of course, a big headline from that one going into Son Heung-min, making his LAFC home debut. Bouanga scoring a quarter hour in, but Chucky Lozano and Anders Strider, who continues his tremendous MVP level season, scoring for San Diego. And Jake mentioned San Diego has been very lethal on the road, but look at their past 6 matches, 4-0-2. They're unbeaten in past 6 matches. There's a good chance. I was looking at their schedule, Henry, and with them being a point behind the Philly for the Supporters' Shield lead by virtue of Philly's win over Seattle or Cincinnati. We'll talk about that quickly a little bit later. But I was just looking at their schedule here. Home against Minnesota, at Atlanta United, home against San Jose, at the Houston Dynamo, and at the Portland Timbers. There's a case, I'm not saying this will happen, but there's a case that this team could go unbeaten the rest of the way. And if they do that, obviously, they really stand a good chance of winning the Supporters' Shield. There's a very, very good chance of that happening.
For sure.
Don't you think?
Yeah, but I mean, this is, again, we come back to this. It's the tightest Shield race in a while. And Jake talked about it too. This is a very, very fun Shield race. It looks like San Diego and Philadelphia are just pulling ahead of the pack, but it's still tight. And there's still, 5, 6 games to play for most of these teams.
Mm-hmm.
So anything can happen. And, if Philadelphia or San Diego lose pace, if they drop their tempo, that opens the door for, your Cincinnati's, your Charlottes, even your Minnesotas to kind of jump in there and do something. And that's his first game, right? For San Diego, it's Minnesota is their next game. And that could be hugely significant. If Minnesota wins, then, you kind of stop San Diego's momentum, and all eyes are on Philly to see if they could potentially take the lead. Well, not just take the lead, but extend their lead and potentially be out of sight for a lot of these teams. And if San Diego wins, kind of the vice versa effect there. So, I mean, I think San Diego could go unbeaten, but I mean, Minnesota, San Jose is always a wild card to me. I used to play a lot of fantasy MLS back in the day, and there was a thing like you never bet for or against San Jose because
they're so hot and cold.
Yeah, they could be either really good or really bad. And usually they're like really good against like the tough teams. And then the teams that you're like, okay, they should reasonably beat. They're like, no, 4-0 loss. So
3-1 against Austin.
Yeah. So you never really know. Atlanta, who knows if, they're real. And we'll talk more about Atlanta on our Wednesday show if you're into that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I agree. They could go unbeaten the rest of the season. Will they? I don't know, man. It's tough, but to me, they are a team to definitely watch in this Shield race.
And then on the other side of that, of course, LAFC out of the top 4 with that loss, or now 3 points behind the top 4. And the playing game, I mean, if you look at the playoff table, and that's not to say that LAFC are in any danger of missing playoffs by any stretch of the imagination, right? But they're only 5 points out of the the play-in. Or I'm sorry, 9 points out of the play-in game, or 5 points out. I beg your pardon. 5 points ahead of Colorado Rapids in 8th. So to me, I don't think I'm too concerned. I mean, it's a really good San Diego team, and we've mentioned it already. LAC have been very hot and cold, and that was before Sun got here. You like to think it stabilizes just a little bit with him coming in and playing even more to their potential. But yeah, I'm not concerned. I'm not sweating it. I think you just got to go back out, and you have a couple weeks off, refocus, recharge, and go back out, look to make your push further up the table when you come back in a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, I think the concern from my point of view is that when you look at your MLS play, right? You had that loss, which against San Diego, it's not a terrible loss, especially if it's a close loss, 2-1 loss, not that bad. But you take that in the context of some of the other results, right? A 1-1 draw to a freaking terrible Dallas side. That's not great. A 2-2 draw to a Chicago that is trying to get into the playoffs, also not great. And then before Leagues Cup, before we even had Son, right, drawing 3-3 to the Galaxy, probably the worst Galaxy team we've seen in a while. That's, that, and then a 1-0 loss to Portland. Like, these are results that you look at an LAFC side that has been mostly competitive, and you're like,
Right.
I think they should be winning these games. And a team that really, if they were getting these results consistently, I wouldn't have as many worries about them. But like, a 5-point gap is not that much given the amount of games that you have left. And we just talked about San Jose. Anything can happen, right? These teams could get really hot in the Western Conference. And again, this is soccer. It's an unpredictable sport.
Right.
And so I'm not sure. Look, for me, if LAFC happen to drop into the play-in game, which I think is unlikely, but if it does happen, that I would consider that to be a poor season by LAFC standards.
Oh yeah,
because
100%.
they should be, with their ambitions, with the signings that they make, with the roster that they have, the coach that they have right now. This is a team that should be routinely in the top 4, easily in the top 4 of the West. And to even think that they have a chance of not even making round 1 of the playoffs because, they have to play the play-in game, that would be a major disappointment. So I'm a little worried that the gap between where they are right now and that play-in game is as small as it is right now.
So kind of on the flip side of that, of course, San Diego winning. Let's talk about Philly beating Cincinnati 1-0. at TQL Stadium. First Eastern Conference team, Henry, to clinch a spot in the MLS Cup playoffs. Yeah, so that's a obviously key win for them. They remain again in the Shield lead by virtue of that win. Bruno Damiani scored in the 49th minute. What a turnaround for them, right? From missing the playoffs under Jim Curtin this last season to bringing in Bradley Carnell and being on the verge of a shield, of the supporter shield. Incredible. What a great turnaround. What a job by Bradley Carnell and establishing a new culture, revamped culture in that locker room, getting buy-in, getting belief. Back-to-back wins for them. And if you look at their schedule compared to San Diego, it's a little bit tougher. You have to go across the continent to play Vancouver, come back against New England. I mean, that's New England. DC. NYC is kind of up and down, a little inconsistent. But then you end on decision day at Charlotte FC. We'll talk about them and just the tremendous run of form that they're in. So if you look at the schedule, it's a bit tougher, a little bit tougher. Of course, you should beat New England, you should beat DC. But then Vancouver, again, NYC, that could be somewhat of a trap game for them. Charlotte FC, who can't lose at this point. I mean, it could come down to decision day between San Diego and Philadelphia as far as the Shield is concerned. But I want to ask you, right now, who do you think the best team in the league is at this moment? Is it Philly or is it San Diego? Between those two, who do you think?
Ooh, it's a tough choice because both of them have their virtues, and like you said, this is a Philadelphia team that I mean no one really expected to be in the position that they are in right now. After it's a big change. You go from missing the playoffs one year to being in the Shield lead the next, and Bradley Carnell has fit in pretty seamlessly with this roster. Like you said, he's got the buy-in. He is a disciple of that, Red Bull energy soccer. So it's and you see that, right? Because the way they play, and it's the same way that Bradley Carnell led that St. Louis side in 2023, their expansion year, where they had that much success. It's literally that high press that kills teams, and then you force a turnover and you annihilate them on the counterattack. And so it's a very entertaining watch as far as seeing their discipline when it comes to pressing. And that is interesting, given that they don't have any real stars. I know that's a meme at this point, but they don't really have they don't have a Chucky Lozano. They don't have a Lionel Messi or anyone like that. It's just literally you have your academy kids, and then you have some other players that have succeeded in MLS. They signed Milan Eloski, who was absolutely balling out at San Diego the first half of the season as a sub, and they found a good use for him. So I think they're great in that sense. San Diego, to me, is just another animal. Like they are, they play some very, very fun, just soccer, getting involved. Anders Dreyer, the year that he's having, some of the stuff that he's done, he scored amazing goals this season. Chucky Lozano, he hasn't been on the field as consistently, but when he is, he makes a difference. And for me, the team that most consistently can grind these results is going to be the San Diego team. So as far as the question of who I think is the better team, for me, it's going to be San Diego.
I agree. I was going to point to this, as an example. They're 10-4-0 away from Snapdragon Stadium. If you look at other MLS teams, how they fared on the road, they have the most wins out of any team in MLS. Cincinnati has 9 wins away from home, and that's it. So they've been incredibly consistent away from home. 14 matches played, 10 wins away. The old adage is, it's tough to win away in MLS, and they've proven you can do that. You can win away, from your stadium, and they've been able to do that at a very high level, and that bodes well for them. If they, they're 7-3-5, I should say, at home. So if they stick in, they'll stick in this first place. But they have home field, obviously. So they're 7-3-5 at Snapdragon Stadium. So, if you look at that as a whole, they've lost just 3 times at home. And that definitely bodes well for them. They've been able to perform both at home and on the road. Of course, every draw is different, right? So you don't want to take too much in that, but they've been able to, be consistent wherever they've gone for the most part. You mentioned Chucky Lozano. You mentioned Anders Dreyer. This collection of talent that they have in San Diego, the job that Tyler Heaps has done building the roster, the job that Mikey Varas has done his first year as a coach in MLS. Look at where he has this team, and he's been, just saying, hey, this is not a credit to me. This is a credit to pretty much everybody in the organization. So he's shown the humility and the character to say, I don't deserve all the credit. This is the people behind me who deserve the credit as well. So in that regard, very humble, very, gracious coach, but he has his team playing at a very high level. And even though the standings say that Philadelphia is above San Diego right now, I think San Diego is the better team as a whole. And, let's see how this continues to roll on. I already mentioned their schedule. I mean, very good chance of them going unbeaten the rest of the way. But yeah, let's see if they keep rolling here, because they're a very good side, and they have, even if they don't win the Shield, Henry, they've just blown away everybody's expectations about what an expansion team is able to do in year one. Charlotte FC. I mean, let's talk about them. 8 wins in a row, and I'm going to say this: I'm not dumping on them by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not 100% on board, right? You know what I'm saying? Because look at their wins. Let's look at their wins. DC, Atlanta, Toronto, RSL, New England, teams below the playoff line. That's 5 of your wins. Biggest win is its 8-game winning streak in Cincinnati. NYCFC, Red Bulls, there are other teams that they've been into during this streak. Teams that are just above the playoff line. So 8 wins is 8 wins in a row, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Toklamati scoring the match winner 87th minute. Biel's been missing Alderman so to Derby County, but you look at the play that Toklamati has put together. He scored again against New England, stepping up, 8 goals for assist. I think, and tell me if you agree, I think the whole match against Miami September 13th at Bank of America Stadium will really, really tell us the story of what Charlotte will be and is, because it's a possibility of Messi as Miami look to push themselves toward the Supporters' Shield race, because as Jake mentioned, this is a team, right, with 4 matches in hand, and that's 12 points, 11 back of Philadelphia right now. So if they're able to make up that ground, they'll be right in the Shield race, and who knows if they'll ultimately win it, but they'll give themselves half a chance if they can make up these matches in hand coming up.
I think that concern that, of these games that Charlotte has won, they hit kind of a patch of games where really the level of the opposition isn't that great if you
Right.
consider all things. I mean, DC already eliminated, Toronto, Atlanta, both on the verge of being eliminated. RSL as well. New England is just a crap show right now.
Disaster.
Yeah. Red Bulls below the playoff line, that bubble. Cincinnati is a weird one, but then again, they had a red card in that game. And again, like, I'm not saying that Charlotte isn't a good team. I think that, to have this kind of win streak, there's definitely merit to it. And you beat an NYCFC side that has, a golden boot contender in Alonso Martinez, has, some very interesting attacking pieces for sure. Like there is merit to these wins, because it's not just a level of your opposition, right? It's also that you're able to put up the performances needed to get these results. And so definitely, I mean, that's something to look at, but I think for sure, when you look at the games that they have remaining, that Inter Miami game is going to be a huge test, right? If can you deal with, a Miami side that, first of all, this is going to be their first game back from this Leagues Cup final defeat. A lot of players are going to be on international duty. They're going to be coming back, but they're going to be fired up because they know
they're pissed off too.
They're going to be pissed off that they lost that Leagues Cup final. And they know that all sights are now on MLS Cup. And getting the best position that you can in the standings so you could have a chance at a home field advantage in the playoffs. So they're going to be pushing hard for this, and they know that they have the ground, that they can make up the difference between them and some of these other teams at the top. And then decision day against Philadelphia, against the first place team, I think that's going to tell you a lot about the Charlotte team and what they have going for them. And so, right now they are third in the East somehow, but
and they went on a 5-game losing streak early in the season, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the cause for concern as well. Is like where is the consistency? And you have Pep Biel, who is in insane form, but he hasn't played the recent games. He's been out. You have Idan Toklamadi, who's basically, 1-for-1 replacing Patrick Ajimang, which is fantastic. And I want to see exactly how much they can keep this going. I mean, you have this momentum. They're going to be hard to stop. But this Miami team, that might be where that stops, because Miami, I think Miami is going to have too much quality for them. And, but we'll see, because they are strong at the bank. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep this up, because if they can, then there is an argument to be had that they could swoop into this shield race. I highly doubt it, but you know the saying. So you're saying there's a chance.
Who knows what could happen? Henry, 4 matches over the international break. Houston Galaxy, Chicago, New England, St. Louis, Dallas, Kansas City, Austin on Sunday. The 3 previous matches are on Saturday. DC United playing Club America at Audi Field in a friendly. Which one is drawing your attention of these 4 matches?
I mean, for me, it has to be Chicago, New England, just because of I guess we could call it the drunk uncle match of the week. It's not because these 2 teams are particularly great at soccer. It's because both of them are like 10th and 11th place in the East, like right below the playoff line. And they're both trying to like salvage their seasons. Chicago hasn't made the playoffs, by the way, since 2017, which is a wild stat.
You're in what? High school? I was gonna say elementary school, but
I was in high school. Actually, funny enough, I like looking through some old photos. I found a photo of me going to my first Atlanta United game, and I looked super young. I was wearing glasses back then.
You still do, but
I was not as much. But I was so different. I was like, that is not me, right?
Yeah.
it was a long
2017 was a long time ago. It feels like forever.
For real. And that's how long Chicago has not been in the playoffs. They're looking to do it this time, and they have a team to do it, right? Hugo Kuipers, Phillips Ingranagle absolutely balling out this season. Jonathan Gutierrez taking important roles. Is a really, really good Fire team. And yet I'm surprised that they are in the position that they are, but they're just 1 point below the playoff line right now. And so all you need is to really put together a few games, and they could get into the playoffs at this point. And New England is hanging on for dear life. Like they're not like close to being eliminated mathematically, but they need to start putting points together, because there are 8 points between them and Chicago. And the problem is New England has 1 game more. So both teams really, really need to win this game.
I'm looking at Houston, LA on Saturday, because Houston is kind of an enigma. They're barely in the playoff race. They've just broken a 6-match winless streak with a 3-2 win over St. Louis this past weekend. And this is a team that, they're not too far removed from U.S. Open Cup victory, right? But Ben Olsen is getting a lot of heat for not advancing this team further than they're supposed to be. They're 3 points behind San Jose right now, and they can ill afford another loss, especially with Salt Lake's RSL being a point behind them, Dallas being 2 points behind them, Kansas City trying to get back into things, 8 points back, maybe too far gone for them, but 1 win may spark momentum, even more momentum for them going down the stretch. But Houston, I think this is a very critical match for them, especially with a team in LA, right? That is on 19 points, yes, but there's been signs when you look back at Leagues Cup. There's been signs of improvement as the season has gone on, and I don't think they're going to be easy out by any stretch of the imagination. So Houston, this is really a must-win for them. I think if they're to make the playoffs, LA, of course, looking to end their season on a high note. They're not going to make the playoffs. I don't remember the last time defending MLS Cup champion has missed the playoffs in the next year. We'll have to research that later on, but they're going to miss the playoffs, and they're looking at 2026. They'll be in Champions Cup in 2026. Ricky Puig will be fully healthy in 2026, and right now they're just turning the page and looking toward what next year will hold for them. So I'm going to say Houston and the Galaxy. That's my match to watch out of the four that'll be on. Then maybe I might watch DC United versus Club America. We'll see.
That's gonna be a beatdown, even with rotation, dude.
Right.
I just realized one thing. Out of the
What's that?
what is this? 2, 4, 6, 8 teams that play this weekend. Only one is above the playoff line, and it's Austin.
Austin FC.
So
big win for them.
It's not a great selling point for MLS season pass necessarily for people to watch the league. So if you have any friends that are like just getting into soccer, maybe don't show them these games. Maybe show them Premier League or something else that's a little bit. It has a better chance of being a little bit more. Well, never mind. Yeah, international soccer, international break. Go watch the final round of qualifiers for the 2026 World Cup. CONMEBOL qualifiers are going to be lit. I'm going to be sweating because Colombia still hasn't secured their spot. There's a very minuscule chance that they will get eliminated, and please do not get eliminated, Colombia, because that would be embarrassing. Bolivia and Venezuela. Yeah. In theory, they should win, but also I don't think they've won a game since losing the Copa America final. So it's stressful times for Colombia fans.
What if Ronald Hernandez knocks Colombia out of World Cup contention?
I will cry myself to sleep. I will actually cry myself to sleep and then have to go face him at the training ground and ask him, Rocket Ronnie, why have you done this to me?
Why? Think of me. Why didn't you think of me when you scored that goal?
For real,
you could have scored in any other match except this one.
Exactly. This is the one he gets called up for. He's obviously going to score in that one. It's just going to happen.
Either him or Joseph.
Joseph to Ronald Hernandez. That's the goal.
Got like a reverse goal, isn't it?
Man.
Yeah. Where can people find you on social media, by the way?
Yeah, I'm at HA Higuita pretty much everywhere, usually X, Blue Sky, Instagram. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
I'm at SH Writes on X, SH Writes at B Sky, that's social on Blue Sky, SidH.soccer on Instagram and Threads. Remember, we are at Scarves, the letter N, Spikes on X, scarvesandspikes.com at Blue Sky, Scarves and Spikes, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook. Again, scarvesandspikes.com for Atlanta United coverage, patreon.com/scarvesandspikes to join our Discord and get bonus content. We'll be back Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube. Remember to like, subscribe, share our content. Remember to subscribe on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and iHeart, and leave a review. Let us know what you think of the show. Please leave us 5 stars. We definitely take your feedback to heart. We would love to hear your feedback as we look to continue to provide you the best coverage of Atlanta United and MLS. Do you think Colombia will make the World Cup, by the way?
I sure hope so, dude. I mean, they have to.
Yeah.
Please. I mean, you can't not be at the World Cup after finishing second in Copa America literally the year before. I don't they were unbeaten, like 24 games or something unbeaten up until the Copa America final. And now they've won like 0 games since then, which I don't really understand, but that's where we're at this point. And I just cannot go into this World Cup only rooting for the U.S. men's national team because I just know that's going to be a disaster.
I'm gonna make a bold prediction, Henry, here right now.
What?
Are you ready?
Oh gosh!
I guarantee you.
Not in the post credits.
I guarantee you, the United States will be in the 2026 World Cup. Guarantee. Take it to the bank.
No way,
Take it to the
dude.
bank.
How long did it take for you to think that one up? I hope you didn't hurt
10
yourself.
seconds.
I hope you didn't hurt
10
yourself
seconds.
divining that from the ether or wherever you pulled that from.
Putting myself out there. I think Canada and Mexico will make it as well.
Oh, no
Call the
way,
hunt.
dude. That is a hot take. When was the last time Canada made the World Cup? Well, last World Cup. Anyway, if y'all at home enjoyed this kind of soccer coverage, this very intellectual soccer coverage, be sure to subscribe to Stars and Spikes, turn on the notifications, hit the like button, and reshare it to all your friends and family. Tell them about how amazing the show is, that we have someone who can predict 3 teams that are going to be in the World Cup.
One more prediction for 2030. One more prediction for 2030. There are 6 teams coming to me right now.
Don't
Morocco. Well, let me just say Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, Portugal, Spain, and Morocco will all qualify for the 2030 World Cup.
For the 2030 World Cup?
2030 World Cup. I'm telling you.
Wow.
Come back.
5 years in advance?
This is recorded.
Whoa.
This is recorded. So come back to this date, September 1st, 2025. I made the prediction that those 6 teams will make the 2030 World Cup. Nothing to do with the fact that they're hosting it, by the way. Nothing to do with that. Just believe me.